Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. We are home from Disney and I am so excited to be answering all of your questions about my most recent solo mom and toddler Disney trip. Before we dive into all the questions, if you are new, my name is Bekah. I'm so glad you're here. I share all kinds of Disney planning tips, advice for taking a toddler to Disney, as well as vlogs from our latest Disney trips. So if that's something that you're into, I would love for you to hit that red subscribe button and stick around for all kinds of fun Disney content. And go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Let's go ahead and dive into the questions. All right, so I asked you guys over on Instagram, which if you are not following me on Instagram, you should totally do so. I share all kinds of Disney reels and I keep up with my stories when we're at Disney. So I save all of my stories into trip highlights, so you can actually go back to all of our trips within the last year or so and kind of see how our trips played out day by day. So if you want to go back and check those out, you totally can. So I'll have my Instagram handle linked down below. But I asked you guys on Instagram if you had any questions about our trip. So I was getting lots of DMs, kind of a lot of the same questions on repeat, and I thought it'd be fun to just compile everything into a big Q&A video, since you guys seem to really enjoy those and it kind of answers everybody's questions all in one spot. So I'm gonna jump into the questions. There are a lot, so I can already tell you that I will not get to all of the questions. So if I don't answer your question, I'm so sorry. This video would be probably 2 hours long if I went through all of them, but I'm gonna try to get through as many as possible. So here we go. Okay, these are in no particular order. The first question, how did you do it with the stroller? Did you drive or take the buses? So because we flew to Disney, obviously we did not have a car, but we did take private transportation from the airport to the Contemporary, which I think there were a few questions about our private transportation, so I'll talk about that here in a minute. But we ended up not utilizing the buses. And that was a big reason that we stayed at the Contemporary, was so that I wouldn't have to tear down the stroller and do the buses. That way we could just walk over to Magic Kingdom both days. So I'm pretty sure I didn't break down my stroller one time while we were at Disney. I mean, I totally could have done it if we had chosen to go to Hollywood Studios or Animal Kingdom. Like, I know that it's possible, but I wanted to make it really easy on myself and just kind of eliminate any extra added stress on our trip, and I made it simple and we just did Magic Kingdom. So the stroller was really simple because I didn't have to mess with buses or tear it down one time. Next is, what would you change? Honestly, nothing. I know that's like the cliche answer, but I really can't think of anything that I would change. I mean, okay, maybe I would have stayed one extra day. I really was dying to go to Animal Kingdom with Ellie Rose. That would be the only thing I would have done differently, is done a 4th night. We were there 3 nights. I probably could have done a 4th night, but that's really the only thing I would change. It was honestly so perfect, like too perfect. This next one, room setup for a toddler. And you guys, I'm so sad. I ended up not being able to film my room setup video that was on my list for this trip, but I stayed so busy with filming videos during nap time that I just didn't get to this one. So this will definitely happen on our next Disney trip. It gives me something else to film on our next trip. But I'll just kind of share how we did it, since I didn't do a full video on this. I just couldn't get to it. But I ended up putting Ellie Rose in a pack and play in the bathroom. And she's in between stages right now where she could have done an actual bed and I could have put up the little railing for her, but I just knew having a little bit of separation between us was gonna be really nice, and it allowed me to kind of have my own space during nap time, and after she went down for bed, I could talk to my husband on the phone and I could watch TV. A lot of times I got my lunch to go and I would put her down for a nap and then I would eat lunch in the room. So I was kind of able to do my own thing during nap time and early bedtime, and I'm really glad I did it that way. So Again, she's in between stages, so I could have done really anything with her, but I think for this trip it was really great and worked out really well for us to have her set up in a pack and play in the bathroom. And then I know the question is, well, how do you get ready? How do you shower? How do you use the restroom? And you just make it work. You just kind of tiptoe around, and I would wait until she was like into a really deep sleep, like 30 minutes to an hour after I put her down. And then I would tiptoe in there and very quietly turn on the sink and brush my teeth. And I would go out to the hall and like brush my teeth out in the hall and then come back and finish at the sink. And then using the restroom, you just kind of make it work. And most rooms like ours have that private door that kind of close off the toilet. So I was able to kind of tiptoe around, and I made sure that the pack and play was positioned in a way where I still had access to the toilet and a sink. And I just didn't flush, and then you just flush first thing in the morning when she gets up, and you just kind of do what you gotta do to make it work, and it works really well. And then when it comes to getting ready in the morning, I just would incorporate her into every part of me getting ready. After she was awake, I would finish doing my hair or, you know, whatever else I needed lighting for in the bathroom, and she was just kind of there, or I gave her her tablet, or I put on Disney Junior on the TV and like gave her a snack. Like, you just make it work. So that is how I did our room setup with a toddler, and it worked out great. Okay, next, were you scared being the only adult to care for her? I mean, no, not at all, just because I'm the only adult mostly through the day caring for her because my husband's at work already. And so who better to care for your child alone than you? So no, there wasn't any part of me that was scared being the only one with her. Okay, next, any tips on how to make the airport process with a toddler smooth? My number one tip is to simplify everything you bring with you. So that was a big reason that I chose to check my bag and not do an additional carry-on bag, because I knew that my hands were already gonna be full and I just didn't want one more thing to keep up with. So all I had with me was our diaper bag and then our stroller, and I had stroller clips to be able to clip on the diaper bag onto the stroller. So it felt like I just had one item with me in addition to my toddler. But that would be my number one tip. And then my second tip is to bring lots of snacks, like a lot of snacks. And then of course I had her tablet. We had those little coloring pages that I got from the Target dollar section. I always go to the dollar store and I get like little trinkety things, just stuff that she's never seen before. It's always the most random stuff. On this trip, I got her this little turtle and dolphin, literally $1. And she was completely obsessed, like would not put them down. And she just played with them, like had them like talk to each other. And it was the cutest thing, but it entertained her for like probably 20 minutes just on our flight there. I was shocked. So those are my number one tips, is snacks, coloring books, stickers, and simplify what you bring. Check your bag if you're able to, and really travel with the bare minimum. And it's gonna be a huge lifesaver when you're trying to get through security and getting, you know, on and off the plane. It's just so much easier if you have less. Next question is, how was the car service? You guys, the car service was incredible, especially for a mom and toddler trip. Because we were alone, it just made me feel so much better. We used Orlando Transportation by Mike, and I had an incredible experience with them. About 24 hours prior to us leaving, I got a text from our driver stating exactly where he would be, and I had his cell phone number. And then as soon as we landed, I got another text from him just confirming, hey, I'm in the location I said I was gonna be in, you know. And he was so easy to find. He had a sign with our name and grabbed our bag for us. I mean, it was so nice, carried my bag for me. And then you go, did we go up or down? We went down the elevator, and there's a private transportation like exit area. I don't even know how to explain it. And his car was parked out there. If you watched our travel day vlog, then you saw kind of where that car was parked, and you're not having to go out in the main exit where, you know, all the pickup and Ubers and all of that is. This is something totally separate, and it was so nice. And I had requested a car seat, which was really nice knowing that I would 100% have a car seat, and that was included with the total cost. So it was amazing, you guys. Like, we were at our resort within 30 minutes, and It was so, so great. And then same thing on our departure day, got a text with our driver's info, and we left 2.5 hours prior to our flight departure time and ended up getting through security within like 5 or 10 minutes. So we waited at our gate for over an hour. Like, we had more than enough time. But the whole experience, having private transportation, gave me peace of mind. And again, it just simplified our transportation and made it so seamless. So I highly recommend Orlando Transportation by Mike. They were so, so great. Okay, this next one, getting on Disney transportation with a toddler and stroller alone tips. So I know that I mentioned we ended up not using additional Disney transportation. We just walked to and from Magic Kingdom. It was so, so nice. But if we had done a day, say at Animal Kingdom, and I did have to venture onto the bus, what I would have done is I would have made sure that the basket underneath, you know, everything in our stroller was empty, or I just keep our stroller rain cover and I can fold the stroller down with that in the basket, no problem. But I would make sure that that was the only thing in the basket. Then I would have our little cooler clipped onto the diaper bag. That way I'm not having to hold on to 2 different little bags. Like, I have our cooler clipped onto the diaper bag, and that way it's just secure and I'm only having to hold on to one thing. So I would have my backpack on me, and then I would tear down the stroller right when I see the bus coming up, and I would have, you know, my toddler in one hand and I would have the stroller in another hand. And I would try to find 2 seats next to each other so that way my toddler didn't have to sit on my lap, and I would just make sure the stroller was kind of upright. And thankfully we have a really compact stroller, so I can just set it down on the ground and it stands up, but I would just hold on to it to make sure it didn't tip over. And then when we pull up to whatever park we're headed to, I would just have my toddler in one hand and the stroller in the other, and, you know, get off the bus. Like, I don't think it would have been that complicated. I think that we totally could have done it, but I think the key is really condensing what you have, because if you have like 10 different little things and additional shopping bags and all the things hooked onto your stroller, that's gonna make it really difficult to try to like gather all of that out, hold on to it, and hold on to your child and the stroller. So I think, again, condensing everything and making sure that you just have your stroller and your backpack. And I think next time I probably would brave a park that does require a bus like Animal Kingdom. I know that I could totally do it. Next is, how did you get a good deal at the Contemporary? And I know the term good deal is relative, so it's tough to say, you know, because a good deal for everybody looks different. But for us, I was able to use the Disney Plus 25% off discount that was going on through the end of September, which put our room right around $350 a night for a room in the Garden Wing. And I think that's a good deal just because rooms at the Contemporary, they can cost upwards of $600, $700, $800 a night, depending on what time of year and your view, and, you know, there's so many factors that go into rates, nightly rates. You know, again, I totally get that a good deal is different for everybody, but that's just what we paid for the room, and I felt really good about that price, and that's why I booked it. So yeah. Okay, next, was your hubby jealous? I feel like mine wouldn't be down with being left out. And of course, he's always sad to miss out, especially when I'm texting him pictures and videos and saying what a good time we're having. I mean, he's always so sad that he can't be a part of it just due to, you know, his work schedule. But I'm so thankful that he supports what I do, and he knows that this is part of my job, in a sense, is to go to Disney World and get content. And I mean, I treat this like a job, and so he really supports that, and I'm just really thankful. So of course, he's always sad to miss out, but he's always super supportive in letting me go at the same time. So it's bittersweet for sure, I know, for him, but he's very, very excited to come on our next trip. How were the crowds? I'll be attending Magic Kingdom on a Halloween party day with my littles. No party though. So this is exactly what we did. We went to Magic Kingdom. One of our days at Magic Kingdom was a party day. So the park opened at 8 a.m. and closed at 6 p.m. So a lot of people are gonna look at those park hours and avoid Magic Kingdom on that day because they think, well, let's go on another day where the park is open until 10 or 11 o'clock. We get more bang for our buck. But my train of thought was, with a toddler, 8 a.m. to even nap time is already a very full day, and we can really accomplish so much, especially with early entry being at 7:30. So if you're there from 7:30 until, noon or 1 o'clock, when you head back for nap time, that is a long park day, especially for a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old. And so I knew that going into it. So when we showed up around 7:45, the park was practically empty. I mean, it was crazy how low the crowds were, but I just assumed, oh, well, it's early entry, people are gonna start really coming back into Fantasyland come 8:15, but 9 o'clock came, 10 o'clock came, and the crowds really stayed the same, and everything was a walk-on. No joke, you guys, every single ride in the park was either a walk-on or a 5 or 10 minute wait. I never saw anything over 10 minutes until maybe around noon, 1 o'clock. Rides started getting up to 20-minute waits, 30-minute waits, but that was pretty much it. So going on a Halloween party day or a Christmas party day, whatever the party is, and letting that be one of your Magic Kingdom days, it works out really well. Now, I don't know what it's gonna look like in December, November, that's very different. September is already kind of a lower month, so this strategy may not work come Thanksgiving, Christmas time, I don't know, but it's definitely worth trying out if you have the flexibility to let that be one of your Magic Kingdom days, and especially if you have little ones and your focus is back in Fantasyland. A lot of those rides are going to be a walk-on for the first few hours of the day. At least that was our experience, so it was really, really nice. Next is, did you use Genie Plus? So our first Magic Kingdom day, the Halloween party day where we didn't have a full park day, I did not use Genie Plus on that day, and we got to do so much because everything was a walk-on. But we did use Genie Plus on our second Magic Kingdom day, which was a normal park day, normal park hours, and it worked amazing. So I think I counted and we were able to use it for, I believe, 12 or 13 different attractions. And then in addition to that, we were able to walk on to multiple rides of repeat rides, if that makes sense. So there's no telling how many rides we actually got to do. If you count, we did Dumbo, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. And, so I don't even know how you would count that. How many rides did we do? We did a lot, and Genie Plus was a huge key in that. So if you're going on a normal park day with normal park hours, especially if it has extended evening hours, that's gonna draw more people. Genie Plus is amazing. Okay, next, tips on where to stand for fireworks. So I'm assuming we're talking about Magic Kingdom, and I'll just share what we did on this trip. So if we are not doing the fireworks dessert party at Magic Kingdom, I mean, you guys know that I love the dessert party. If we're able to do it, we will always do it. It was sold out on the night that we were gonna be there for normal fireworks viewing time. I did check, it was sold out. But what we ended up doing was we went to the back of the castle. There are so many good spots behind the castle. If you are okay with not seeing the projections, there are so many good spots back there. So we ended up going to Dumbo, and we got on the Dumbo ride right as the fireworks were starting, and there's no one back there. I mean, it's like a ghost town back there. And we got to ride Dumbo and watch the fireworks, and they just let you stay on as many times as you want. I mean, assuming that there's not a crazy long line, which there probably won't be. So we stayed on probably 4 times. And then after about 4 times, Ellie was like, okay, like time to, we can get off now, time to go. And so after we got off Dumbo, we went out the exit and stood in Storybook Circus and watched the fireworks back there. And there was no one there, and it was the most magical view. The fireworks were just like right above us, right on top of us. It was so amazing. It makes me honestly not want to watch the fireworks in front of the castle ever again, because you're just sandwiched with so many people, and then once the fireworks are over, the crowds are just crazy, and you're like shoulder to shoulder, like everybody's shuffling out like these tiny little walkways. It's just crazy. And so I am a huge fan of watching the fireworks behind the castle, especially if you have little ones. This gives them so much room to run and dance, and I mean, that's what my toddler does. If you're looking for something a little bit different in Magic Kingdom, highly recommend going back to Storybook Circus or finding another spot behind the castle. It's a really neat view. Next, did you have any anxiety during the process? I mean, of course. So leading up to our trip, like especially the day before, I was very nervous. On our travel day, I was feeling good, but still had a little bit of nerves. And like even throughout our entire first day, like once we got there and we did our night at the Polynesian and I came back and put her down for bed, like I was still a little nervous, just like, how is this gonna go? I've never done this before. You know, everything was going good, but you still have the nerves. And after that first night though, it all went away. I felt so confident and so good after that first day. So I think it was really just getting that first travel day out of the way and realizing that I can totally do this. I'm more than capable. I am the best person for Ellie Rose right now. Like, I think knowing all of those things, it made me so much more confident. But of course I was nervous and had a little anxiety going into it, but conquering that first day gave me so much more confidence. Next, do you wake Ellie Rose in the mornings on park days, or is she up and ready to go? I would say both. It kind of depends. On our first 2 mornings, I had to wake her up because we were doing early entry. So I woke her up around 6:45, 7 o'clock, and that is Eastern time, and we're on Central time. So 7 o'clock in Orlando is really 6 o'clock for her back home. So I did have to wake her up the first couple of mornings. And then on our last morning, I just assumed that she would sleep in at least until 8 o'clock. But then she woke up on her own at around 7. I don't know. So I was kind of surprised that she woke up on her own. But typically when we're at Disney, those first few days, we have to wake her up. She will sleep past 8 o'clock just because it is an hour time difference for us. But then usually by the end of the trip, she starts adjusting to that, you know, hour time difference and starts waking up at her normal wake up time. So that's kind of how our trips end up going with her. What was your favorite part? Okay, hands down, watching the fireworks on Dumbo. That was like lifetime memory, etched in my mind forever. I will never forget that whole evening. That was the most magical, the sweetest, like best part of our entire trip. I loved it. I hope she remembers it forever. It was so sweet and so much fun. And watching her experience the fireworks back in Storybook Circus was the sweetest thing. Watching her face, watching her excitement. Like she just starts screaming like, Disney World! Like she just gets so excited watching the fireworks. Like that is her thing. And that will forever be my favorite part of this trip, hands down. Next is yes or no for the Memory Maker. We have actually never purchased Memory Maker before. And the only time that we've ever utilized it was when we were pass holders back in 2019 and 2020, and we no longer have our passes anymore. So Disney, please sell me an annual pass, please. But when it comes to Memory Maker, I think it depends on the kind of trip that you're going on and what's important to you. So looking back, I do wish that I had Memory Maker. We got a lot of really sweet photos. I was always able to hand my phone to one of the photographers and they were happy to take our picture, you know, without asking about Memory Maker or anything like that. So that worked out great, but it definitely would have been easier if they could have just, you know, snapped a few pictures and I could have scanned my Magic Band. That would have been so simple, and I might have gotten even more pictures with just me and Ellie Rose. A lot of our pictures are like cute little selfies, which is still really sweet, but you know, I probably could have gotten more pictures if I had Memory Maker. So I think it's just evaluating what's a priority for you, and if you're okay with having a cast member take pictures on your phone, or if you prefer the ease of having it scanned onto your Magic Band and then you have all these pictures when you get home to look through. You know, it just depends. Okay, this next one, car seats on an airplane. We have never traveled with our car seat, and now that Ellie is over 2 years old, we do have to purchase her an airline ticket. but I've never taken her car seat with us. She just does better not strapped in. She likes to be kind of up and down off of her seat, and that really helps her. And that's just how she is. But I know there are other toddlers that do much better if they have the security of being strapped into a car seat. So it just kind of depends, but I think, again, it totally would have been doable. I could have definitely made it work, but it would have added another element of all the things that I'm carrying alone. So, you know, it definitely simplified things that we don't travel with our car seat, and I knew that we were gonna have private transportation that provided a car seat for us, so it was never even a question. But again, my toddler, she just does so much better not strapped in, and she likes to have a little more mobility in her seat and kind of on the floor and up and down, so that's what works great for us. How do you entertain your toddler while waiting for a ride? So there are a few things we do. I will either bring a snack with us. I will have little trinkety toys with me. I have a little like crossbody fanny pack that I always carry with me, and I'll have her little like Pop-It, or she has this little pink truck. It's like a little Hot Wheels thing that I'll pull out, and she'll run that on the railing. She honestly loves just stepping up on, like if there's like a brick ledge and a rail, she'll just climb up on that little brick ledge and step down. Climb up, jump down. Like that entertains her alone. I'll entertain her by counting things with her. So if there's a wall and there's like little lines on the wall, like in paint, we'll count how many lines there are together, and so that entertains her. So you just kind of find random things. It doesn't have to be fancy, but you just kind of look around, and that's what you have to work with. This next one is a two-part question. First, what snacks did you bring for her? She loves goldfish, applesauce pouches, different little snack bars. I'll bring some kind of little treat, something that she doesn't usually get at home, like little fruit snacks. That can normally help her if she's, again, waiting in a line, or she's kind of upset about something. I'll give her some fruit snacks. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. She loves veggie straws. That's about it, I feel like. But all kinds of different, like a variety of snack bars and a variety of different applesauce pouches. And, you know, I just kind of mix it up and keep it just a little bit different every time. And the next part to this question, how did you budget? So it's funny you would ask. I actually have a budget template that I will link down below in the description box. This budget template has helped me so much. And basically what it is, I also have kind of a video tutorial walking through how I use this budget template for our Disney trips, but it compiles everything into one grand total for you. It's kind of the best way to sum it up. It has a section for resort, and it factors in tax, and then it has a section for all of your ticket options and all of your transportation, and then it has its own separate dining tab, which leaves a column where you can factor in tip, and then it adds in tax for you, gives you a grand total for your day, and then a grand total for your dining, and then that factors into the total cost of your trip. So it's a really awesome template, so definitely check it out if you are needing a budgeting tool. It's really helped our marriage as well. My husband is always asking me, okay, I know you're saying this, but plug it into the template. I need to see it. Plug it into the template. So if anyone else's husband is like that, he will appreciate this just as much as you, if not more. So that is how we typically budget though. I will plug everything into this spreadsheet, and that way I can have a visual, because it's one thing to kind of estimate like, oh, tickets, you know, $1,100, and resort, like dining, oh, $500. And then you get home and you're like $1,000 for dining. Like, how did we double that? And so it's really easy for that to happen. And using this template, it helps you visualize everything. So definitely check it out. And yeah, that's how we budget for our trip. Next, will this be an annual trip? I'd like to think so. And I mean, this is definitely something that I want to do with Ellie Rose more often, especially since it went so well. I mean, I don't see why not. And I always have a Disney fund kind of going into separate accounts. So whenever that account, gets full, I'm like, all right, time to book another trip. Let's go. So, I definitely could see this being an annual thing. I'd love for it to be like a twice a year thing. I don't know. I'm always looking for another excuse to go to Disney, but yes, we will definitely do this again. Okay, share a meltdown story. It looked like sunshine and rainbows. And I really can't think of a meltdown story. Like, I know that sounds totally crazy, but Ellie just did so good on this trip, and I have learned her triggers enough to know how to prevent them. So if she's not listening to me, or we need to keep moving, or something like that, I know that if I just like grab her and throw her into the stroller, like that is not gonna go over well. She's gonna have a full-on meltdown. So I get down on her level and I communicate with her, and I'm kind of talking her through, this is why we have to leave, this is why you need to listen and be obedient. If you get in the stroller, then we get to go do this. And so if I take an extra minute to kind of explain the situation and let her know where we're going, what to expect, she ends up getting into the stroller willingly. So that's kind of how I prevented meltdowns with her. I think they definitely would have happened if I had lost my patience. I think that she would have fed off of that. So again, I've just learned what her triggers are. There was another moment where we got off of a ride and you exit into a gift shop, and she saw this little stuffed animal, and it was this little Marie cat from the Aristocats, and she was holding it like, take this with me. Like, she was not letting go of this little Marie cat, and I could have just taken the cat from her and put it back up on the shelf, and I know in that moment that would have caused a full-on meltdown. But that's another instance where I knew I have to explain to her. I got down on her level and just explained, hey, we're gonna get you a Winnie the Pooh later. We had talked about this Winnie the Pooh. And so if you put Marie back, then we can go get Winnie the Pooh, but we can't have both. So you can choose, would you like Marie or do you want Winnie the Pooh? And so again, taking that extra minute to explain to her, and then it kind of clicked and she was able to realize, okay, yeah, I want Winnie the Pooh. And she put Marie back and it came with me. So I think it was me just taking the extra couple of minutes every time that we were on the edge of a meltdown to kind of talk things through with her. But I think because of that, that's why she didn't have any crazy meltdowns or anything, and she just did really, really well. Okay, next question. Do you wish you would have done it sooner? And honestly, no. I look back on our trip with her almost a year ago now, and it was a total disaster. But giving it some more time, she's at a really great age right now where she's communicating well, and her and I are we just work really well together. Like, I get her, I know her, and I can't say the same a year ago. So this was the perfect timing for her, but I realized that perfect timing looks different for every family, and you just have to evaluate what that looks like for your family. But I think this was the perfect time for me to do this trip with her. Next question, what was the most challenging thing doing this solo trip with a toddler? And the most challenging thing probably was that I didn't have an extra person to like keep an eye on her if I needed to use the restroom, or if I just needed a drink of water, or I don't know, just like simple things. She had to come with me for all of that. So there was one moment we were at the airport and she was all set up with her tablet. She had her headphones. She was sitting in her chair. She had all of her little activities laid out, and we were good. Everything was good. And then she asked for a drink of water, which her water bottle was empty. So I realized in that moment, I'm either gonna need to find a bottle of water or a water fountain, which also meant I can't just leave her here. Like, I have to pack all of this up, go buy a bottle of water, and then come back and unpack all of it. So that was kind of a bummer, having to be like, okay, baby, like, let's go get some water, like, put all of our stuff away, turn the show off, like, the whole thing, pack up all your coloring books. Like, she had goldfish laying out, like, I gotta clean up all this, like, so it was a whole ordeal to go buy this bottle of water, whereas if Andy had been with me, I could have just been like, hey, I'm gonna go get some water real quick. Like, it would have been no big deal, and he would have sat with her. So things like that probably made it challenging, but those are such minor things, I know. And same thing with using the restroom. I mean, I always had to find one of those large companion restrooms where I could bring the stroller in with me, and if I couldn't, then I would try to find like a handicap stall where I could still squeeze the stroller into, but then I'm using the restroom and she's like kicking me, and so those were probably the most challenging moments of the trip, but again, super minor. Okay, next, what was something that surprised you about taking a solo mommy-daughter trip? Probably how easy it actually was. I think I had built it up in my mind that it was going to be so much more complicated and overwhelming than it actually was. And that was probably the thing that surprised me the most, was that I came home feeling like, wow, that really was great. Like, that wasn't a big deal at all. And I realized that it's just me and a toddler. Like, I'm not having to keep up with 2 kids. It's not a toddler and a baby. So I may have felt differently if it had been 2 kids or 3, but with just 1 toddler, it was so doable, and I loved every minute of it. So that was probably the thing that surprised me the most. Whew, it's getting hot. Okay, next is, why do you guys usually do Deluxe Resort for a shorter stay than a moderate value for a longer stay? So we just really like Deluxe Resorts. We just prefer them. We love the location, and there are also other factors that go into how we decide what the length of our stay is going to be, because you imagine if you do a 7-day trip, that also means you're buying more tickets, and that also means that's more days of food that you have to budget for. So that's another reason that I'm thankful for my budget template, is that I can plug in all the numbers and piece together and see, oh, this is what it really totals out to be if we do an 8-day trip or a 7-day trip as compared to if we want to stay here and do a 3-day trip. And so you can really compare prices and kind of price out multiple trips and budget for multiple trips and see kind of what it comes out to. But that's just what we prefer to do, and we just really love the Deluxe Resorts, and I will always prefer to go for 3 or 4 days at a Deluxe Resort than do a 6 or 7-day trip at a value resort. That's just my preference, and that's what we enjoy. Okay, and the last question, do you think it would have been as possible if you stayed somewhere not walkable to Magic Kingdom? Absolutely. I mean, really anywhere we could have stayed, we would have found a different transportation route, or I just would have planned our trip a little bit differently, but I think it would have still absolutely been doable, but staying at the Contemporary made it really simple, but absolutely doable at any resort. I would do this again in a heartbeat. All right, well, that is it for today. You guys asked some awesome questions, so I hope this was fun and helpful, and thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure that you are subscribed if you're not already for the trip vlogs coming out very soon. My travel day is already up, so head over and check that out if you haven't seen it yet. And yeah, make sure you're subscribed so that way you don't miss the rest of these trip vlogs. And go ahead and give this video a thumbs up as well. It really helps support the channel. So thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!